This episode of Digital Photography Cafe is brought to you by Focus Pyramid, the autofocus lens calibration tool for your camera.
Welcome to Digital Photography Cafe Extra. I'm Trevor Curran.
And I'm Joseph Christina.
So grab a latte, pull up a chair, and join us for our brief commentary on Apple's iPad mini announcement.
So hey everybody, welcome to Digital Photography Cafe Extra. So what exactly is this extra thing, Trev?
Yeah, so sometimes, on our regular shows, we don't have enough time to cover all the details we'd like to present. Not only are we going to use Digital Photography Cafe Extra for a way to provide additional information on past shows, but we're also going to use it as a platform to provide commentary on special events in our industry.
Yeah, special events, right? That sounds good. We'll give them commentary on all the little things that are happening out there, so that'll be fun for us. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, we've got all the, WPPIs and PPEs and all the other acronyms of all the things that we do on a regular basis every year. That's right.
So so today, for the first time, Digital Photography Cafe live tweeted coverage of course, what the huge event, Apple's special event, where they highlighted what? One of the items, of course, is the Mac Mini, which for me is huge. I love the Mac Minis. I mean, Mac Minis are perfect as like render farms. You can do so much with them. And this new one comes with either it's dual core, so it's either i5, i7. You could either have a flash drive or hard drive. And then, of course, it has all the great stuff that you would think that would go into it. You have Gigabit, you have FireWire 800, you have Thunderbolt, HDMI, and you have USB 3. I always like that because, USB 3 is a very cheap alternative to Thunderbolt drives, and they just work. They're very quick. And for me, they're cheap, and you can get a ton of backup for relatively low cost. Anyway, so they're starting at $599, and they ship out today. So that's pretty. That's a good
I like
price.
Those Mac Minis. I've got one for a server that I use, and it works great. It really is a good machine, and I like the addition of the HDMI. Because a lot of people want to use their big screen TVs as their monitor. Use these little Mac Minis as like a home entertainment system.
Right, as a media center.
Yeah, so it's a great alternative for sure.
Right.
They also announced new iMacs. These things are sweet. They have a 21.5 inch and a 27-inch version. And these suckers are super thin. They removed like some airspace between the glass and the display from the previous model. They made the display itself thinner. Right. What did they do? They pulled out the optical drive too, it looks like. So the whole thing is so much thinner now. Yeah,
I think they were saying something like 5 millimeters is like the edge, the edge. It's like so thin. They actually on stage they spun it around and they compared it to the old version. And when you look at the old iMac, it's like it already looks outdated. It's like big, thick, and square. This new one has this really nice bezel on it that goes all over. It's really super thin. Very, very cool. I like it. And, in the studio, we do either, iMacs or the Mac Mini with the monitor. But I really like my iMac 27 inches. I mean, they're beautiful. Displays are beautiful. I just love them. And they have something new, right? What do they call it? The Fusion Drive?
It's called Apple's Fusion Drive.
Very cool.
So this is pretty cool. It's a 128 gigabyte flash drive and either a 1 or a 3 terabyte hard drive.
Right.
So basically what it does is it kind of, through software, it works together with both of these drives. So it gives you the speed and the performance of the SSD for starting up and launching your applications and things like that, but gives you the storage capacity of a traditional hard drive, which is kind of neat.
They claim it's kind of like the best of both worlds. We'll have to discuss that in next week's show because I'm kind of I don't know. But anyways, one of the other things that they spoke about is the brand new MacBook Pro 13-inch Retina. Now, before they always had before they had the 15-inch, now they have a 13-inch, which for me is perfect because you take it on a plane. 15 inches is too big. 13 inches, I think, is the sweet spot. So, you know, it's got more pixels. I think it's 2 million more pixels than an HD TV, which is crazy. So you can imagine how detailed these screens are, which is really cool. The only thing that I'm worrying about is lag. They were experiencing some lag on the 15-inch model because you're pushing so many pixels. This 13-inch, you know, the processor will probably be able to handle it because you're losing a little bit of that screen real estate. Same type of battery life, 7 hours.
Yep,
they
7 hours.
They got that great power nap deal that goes on where the machine goes into this power nap cycle, and while it's sleeping, it still does all the stuff in the background, like doing backups, downloading updates, checking your mail, messages, all the rest of the stuff while it's quote unquote technically sleeping. So, you know, this unit is going to start out at $1699, which is a pretty good price for a Retina display, right? Whereas the other Retina display, you're paying over $2,000.
Yeah. The 15-inch version is a lot more expensive. This is a great way of getting into a MacBook Pro line with the Retina display at a significantly lower price. But if you don't want to pay that much, you can still get into a regular MacBook Pro for $1199, and then of course the MacBook Air for $1,000.
Exactly. And then they introduced the 4th generation iPad. That's probably one of my favorite things that I saw that they came out with today. They were talking about. They're going to come in both black and white. But the thing that really kind of I'm sweet on is that A6X chipset, which is, you know, gives you double the performance. And that's really important because I really like to, when I use these things, I use them. You know, we really push them to the nth degree. They have a brand new camera, 720p. That's great. LTE. They have the new Wi-Fi, which is N. So that's good. Lightning connector. I guess everything that Apple does from this day forward is going to be Lightning connectors.
Yeah, it's all going to be the Lightning connector.
And then for the photographer, which is the most important thing, they're going to have the Lightning connector that goes to those USB card readers. So you can imagine before, you know, it was brutal. You know, you take a 32 gig card to try to go drop it onto your iPad. You're like, it's just, it's never going to get there, right?
No, yeah, it's really cool, and also they have the HDMI out and they have a VGA out. So with the adapters, you can plug right in, hook it up to your computer monitor, hook it up to your big screen TV. Now it really turns into a great presentation device, as we've talked about in the past about iPads. You know, take it on location, use it in the studio. Really cool from that standpoint. No HDMI in though. I know you and I were kind of talking about that off the air, and it would be really cool if you could get an HDMI in to these suckers and then use them as a monitor for your camera or something like that, and just have it hardwired right in. But
I don't know. I don't know if it's a logistical thing, and maybe it's a space thing, maybe it's just a legal thing or whatever it is, but I just don't see it happening anytime soon. It would be cool. It would be great. But like you were saying, the HDMI out and the VGA out, you know, we all want HDMI out to be able to pump these into the large screen TVs or wherever, but that VGA out still being there as a capability through the Lightning converter is great, because if you're doing seminars, you're doing presentations, many of these displays are still antiquated. They're still just simply taking VGA. And if you just have an HDMI out, you're basically screwed. You know, you need to have that VGA out. So that's great. And then finally, of course, the drum roll, you know, goes off. The crowd, you know, just rumbles and cheers and starts talking. And what do they introduce? The iPad Mini. And they actually called it the iPad Mini. I know that was kind of a debate back and forth with all the pundits out there with, you know, in the Apple scene, but they actually did call it the iPad Mini.
The internals are basically like an iPad 2. It's using the A5 dual core. It's got FaceTime HD, front side camera, 5 megapixel iSight camera on the back side. And of course you can get the LTE for your mobile connection. It's got the fast Wi-Fi like everything else does. Of course, the Lightning connector. And they're saying a 10-hour battery life in this, which is pretty cool.
It's huge, huge. And now the major thing was the price, right? They were, we were going back and forth. Even on the show, we discussed the $249 price, the $299 price, and no one really knew where it was going to be. Is it going to be the Kindle Fire HD killer, where it just takes them out of business? And I think they were kind of smart with it. They priced it at $329 at the low end.
Right. Right. Unfortunately, though, I mean, as with the 4th gen iPad and such, no Retina display.
Right.
So it's still your standard display resolution, just like the regular iPad 2, which is kind of disappointing. But I'm guessing that they probably did it financially to try and get that entry level price of the $329.
Right.
And also, I can guarantee you that the iPad Mini 2 will have a Retina display and
absolutely
all that stuff.
Yeah.
And what is it? I think it's 11.9 inch diagonal on this. So
somewhere right. No, I think it's 7.
No, that was the full size, right?
Yeah.
What is it? 7.9 or something?
Yeah, I think it's 7.9, where its counterpart, which is the Android version, I think it's 7. And they were claiming on how much bigger it is. And it is much, much bigger when you see this. Whereas you see the Android version of this, and it's almost like everything is running like, phone apps just blown up that look not that great. Whereas the stuff here, they're actually running iPad apps. And I think that was one of the major reasons why they went with the 1024 by 768, because they maintain that 275,000 apps that are currently on the market, where these developers have to do nothing to be able to.
Exactly. They don't have to do anything. They'll just work on this without having to scale or up-res or anything like that. And with it being the smaller processor, you're not running the Retina display quality type of apps where it needs the rendering power for it.
Right.
So now, this iPad mini I think is really cool. I don't know. Is it the next hottest thing? I mean, absolutely. It's going to be huge for the holiday season. For photographers though, I kind of like it from the standpoint that all of the other apps that we can currently use on an iPad for our photography businesses, you can use on this. Absolutely. Just in a smaller form factor.
Yeah, I agree. You know what? I kind of want to coin this event as, the Apple's, looking under the kimono of Apple, because because for during the entire event, unlike other events, they actually showed inside every single device they talked about. Whereas, I think they just started, what was it, iPhone 5 was the first time that we really saw that. In the past, you would have to wait for these breakdowns of the device. Here, I mean, they're popping the lid, you see where the 2 big monster batteries are, and here, there, and now the whole, they're really showing you what they're doing. And I think displaying to the people that not only are these things beautiful on the outside, but all of the time and craftsmanship that goes on building them on the inside. It's got to be a technical nightmare to get all of the stuff plugged in such a small form factor. It's absolutely amazing. Yeah,
it's very cool. Very cool.
So, all right,
so we'll probably talk more about this stuff in next week's show. We'll kind of dive into maybe 1 or 2 of the products a little more. I'm really digging the iMacs and the MacBook Pro, so maybe we'll talk a little bit more about those and really how those will be of major benefit to the photographer.
Right, absolutely. Well, Trev, I tell you what, we need to get out of here. This was a lot of fun. I think it's time now to interact with the viewers. Go ahead and use @DPhotoCafe to tweet your thoughts about how Apple's new offerings may or may not help you in your photography business. Don't forget to subscribe to our weekly show where Trevor and I discuss both the art and business of photography. Head over to the website digitalphotographycafe.com for more information. Thanks again for tuning in to Digital Photography Cafe Extra, where more is better and less is simply not good enough. All right, guys, we're out. Take care.